My fiancé wanted me to be healthy, so I demanded a divorce. The pharmacy technician's confused expression should have been my first clue that something was seriously wrong. Mr. Chen, are you sure you picked up your metformin last Tuesday? Our system shows the bottle was never scanned out. She clicked through her computer screen, frowning. But someone definitely came in with your ID and insurance card. I stared at the prescription bottle in my hand, the same bottle my fiancée Sarah had proudly handed me when I got home from my business trip, explaining she'd saved me the trouble of stopping by Walgreens myself. The pills inside looked exactly like my diabetes medication. Same white, oval shape. Same markings. Can you test these? I asked, sliding the bottle across the counter. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in my car in the pharmacy parking lot, hands shaking as I stared at the test results. Lactose tablets. $45 worth of sugar pills masquerading as the medication that kept my blood glucose from spiking into dangerous territory. My phone buzzed. Sarah, how was your doctor's appointment? Remember what we talked about, you don't need all those chemicals in your body. Dr. Martinez just wants to keep you dependent on Big Pharma. 2 hearts. The appointment. Right. The one where Dr. Martinez had looked genuinely concerned when my A1C levels came back at 9.2%, nearly double what they should be for someone with well-controlled type 2 diabetes. Have you been taking your medication consistently? He'd asked, reviewing my chart. These numbers suggest you haven't had proper glucose control in weeks. I'd assured him I'd been religious about my routine. Same time every morning with breakfast, just like always. What I couldn't explain was why I'd been feeling increasingly exhausted, constantly thirsty, and making twice-nightly bathroom trips that hadn't been an issue since my diagnosis 3 years ago. Now I knew why. I scrolled through my phone, looking for the conversation from 2 months ago when Sarah first started her campaign against my toxic lifestyle choices. She'd been researching natural alternatives, she said. Cinnamon supplements that could regulate blood sugar better than synthetic drugs. Organic dietary changes that would heal me from the inside out. I'd listened politely, even tried some of her suggestions alongside my regular medication, because I loved her and appreciated that she cared about my health. But apparently, caring about my health meant deciding she knew better than my endocrinologist. I drove home to our shared apartment with my mind racing. Sarah's silver Honda was already in the parking spot next to mine. She'd gotten off her shift at the dental office early. Through our second-floor window, I could see her moving around the kitchen, probably preparing another one of her healing dinners with extra turmeric and ginger. How long had this been going on? The pharmacy tech mentioned someone had used my information last Tuesday, but when I really thought about it, Sarah had been volunteering to pick up my prescriptions for months. Always so helpful, so considerate of my busy work schedule. I sat in the car for another 10 minutes, prescription bottle in my palm, trying to wrap my head around the fact that the woman I was supposed to marry in 4 months had been systematically sabotaging my medical treatment. The woman who'd held my hand in Dr. Martinez's office during my initial diagnosis, who'd researched diabetic-friendly recipes, who'd seemed so supportive when I was learning to manage my condition. The engagement party was this Saturday. Both our families flying in from different states, the country club reservation for 60 people, her Instagram posts about our perfect love story. I had no idea that story was about to become a nightmare. I climbed the stairs to our apartment, each step feeling heavier than the last. The familiar smell of Sarah's lavender essential oil diffuser hit me as I opened the door, usually comforting but now somehow sinister. Everything felt different when you realized the person you trusted most had been lying to your face. Babe. Perfect timing. Sarah appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her smile was radiant, genuine, the same smile that had made me fall for her 2 years ago at Jake's barbecue. I made that quinoa bowl you love, with extra cinnamon. And I have a surprise for you. She gestured toward the coffee table, where she'd arranged what looked like a small pharmacy of brown glass bottles and supplement containers. I finally got everything we need to replace those horrible prescriptions. This naturopath in Boulder, Dr. Healing Hands, she has thousands of 5-star reviews. She put together a complete protocol for reversing diabetes naturally. My stomach dropped. Dr. Healing Hands? Okay, that's not her real name, but everyone calls her that because she's literally saved so many lives. Look. Sarah grabbed her laptop, pulling up a website that looked like it had been designed in 2003. Berberine extract, chromium picolinate, bitter melon concentrate. This is what your body actually needs, not synthetic chemicals manufactured by corporations that profit from keeping you sick. I held up the prescription bottle, watching her face carefully. Speaking of those synthetic chemicals, something weird happened at the pharmacy today. For just a split second, maybe half a heartbeat, her expression flickered. Fear. Guilt. Then the smile was back, bright as ever. Oh really? What kind of weird? They said someone picked up my metformin last week using my insurance card, but it never got scanned out of their system. I rattled the bottle. And when they tested these pills, turns out they're just lactose tablets. Sarah's laugh sounded forced. That's crazy. Those pharmacy techs are so incompetent sometimes. Remember when they gave Mrs. Henderson blood pressure medication instead of her arthritis pills? Good thing you're transitioning to natural alternatives anyway. She moved toward the kitchen, but I stepped into her path. Sarah. Did you replace my medication with sugar pills? What? No. Why would you even ask that? Her voice pitched higher. I can't believe you'd accuse me of something so. I mean, that would be insane. Maybe the pharmacy made a mistake, or maybe your pills got switched somehow during your business trip. But she wouldn't meet my eyes, and her hands were fidgeting with her engagement ring, the tell she'd had since college whenever she was nervous about something. My blood sugar has been all over the place for weeks, I continued. Dr. Martinez said my A1C is at dangerous levels. See? That proves my point exactly. Sarah's voice got animated again. Your doctor's treatments aren't working. Your body is rejecting those chemicals and trying to tell you something. This is actually perfect timing to start the natural protocol. She picked up one of the brown bottles, shaking it enthusiastically. Bitter melon has been used for centuries in traditional Chinese medicine. Your grandmother probably used remedies like this before Western medicine convinced everyone they needed laboratory-made drugs for everything. The casual way she deflected my direct question chilled me more than an outright confession would have. She wasn't just lying, she genuinely believed she was saving me from myself. My phone rang. Mom's contact photo filled the screen. Answer it, Sarah said quickly. I actually talked to her yesterday about the wedding planning. She's so excited about Saturday. Something in her tone made my blood run cold. I answered the call on speaker, watching Sarah's face carefully. Danny. Thank goodness, Mom's voice filled the room. I've been so worried about you, honey. Sarah told me about your doctor's appointment yesterday. 9.2. That's terrible. My blood went cold. I hadn't told Sarah the specific number for my A1C test. She explained how those medications aren't working anymore, Mom continued. And honestly, after what happened to your Uncle Robert with all those pharmaceutical side effects, maybe it's time to try something different. Sarah sent me some articles about natural diabetes management, very impressive research. I stared at Sarah, who was nodding encouragingly and mouthing, tell her about the new supplements. Mom, what exactly did Sarah tell you? Well, that you've been having terrible side effects from the metformin. The nausea, the headaches, the mood swings. She's been so worried about you, sweetie. She said you've been talking about wanting to try a more holistic approach, but you're afraid Dr. Martinez will be upset. None of that was true. I'd never had side effects from metformin, never complained about headaches or mood swings. And I'd certainly never expressed interest in abandoning my medication. Sarah's been researching alternatives for months, Mom went on. She even called me last week to ask about your grandmother's old remedies. You know Nai managed her blood sugar with bitter melon and herbs until she was 87. Mom, Nai died from diabetic complications. Silence on the other end. Then, well, that was different. She was old, and she didn't have access to the good natural supplements they have now. Sarah found this wonderful doctor in Colorado who's helped hundreds of people reverse their diabetes completely. I looked at Sarah, who was beaming like she'd just won the lottery. Dr. Martinez is old school, Sarah called out toward the phone. He doesn't stay current with the latest research on natural protocols. Danny's been feeling so much better since we started incorporating some alternative approaches. That was another lie. I'd been feeling progressively worse for weeks. The important thing is that you have Sarah looking out for you, Mom said. She loves you so much, Danny. When she called crying last week because she was so scared about your health declining, it just broke my heart. You're lucky to have someone who cares enough to do the research your doctors won't do. Sarah had called my mother crying. About my health declining due to medications I wasn't actually taking because she'd replaced them with sugar pills. We're all just so grateful Sarah's taking such good care of you, Mom continued. Dad and I were talking about it last night, she's going to make such a wonderful wife. Speaking of which, are you excited about Saturday? Sarah sent me the most beautiful photos of the venue setup. Actually, Mom, about Saturday. Oh. And Aunt Linda is driving down from Portland specifically because Sarah called and told her how much it would mean to you to have her there. She's bringing those almond cookies you love. Sarah had been calling my extended family. Coordinating with them. Building this narrative that she was my devoted caretaker while simultaneously poisoning me with fake medication. I should let you two go, Mom said. But Danny, please promise me you'll give Sarah's research a fair chance. I know change is scary, but sometimes we have to trust the people who love us most. See you both Saturday. I can't wait to celebrate my future daughter-in-law. The call ended. The apartment fell silent except for the hum of Sarah's essential oil diffuser. She loves you so much, Sarah said softly. Your whole family does. They just want you to be healthy and happy. I stared at her, this woman I planned to spend my life with, and realized I had no idea who she actually was. How long have you been replacing my medication, Sarah? Her smile faltered. I think you're really stressed right now. Maybe we should talk about this after dinner. How long? Sarah's face crumpled, and for a moment I thought she might actually tell me the truth. Instead, she sank onto our couch and started crying. You're being so mean to me, she sobbed. I've been trying so hard to help you, and you're treating me like I'm some kind of criminal. Do you have any idea how scary it's been watching you put those toxins in your body every single day? Answer the question. I love you, Danny. Everything I've done has been because I love you. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. When I started researching what metformin actually does to your liver, to your kidneys, I couldn't just stand by and watch you destroy yourself. How long, Sarah? 6 weeks, she whispered. 6 weeks. A month and a half of my blood sugar spiraling out of control while she fed me sugar pills and told my family I was having medication side effects I'd never experienced. The bottle I picked up after my conference in Denver. She nodded miserably. I was going to tell you, but you seem to be feeling fine, and I wanted to give the natural alternatives time to work. Your body needs time to detox from all the pharmaceutical buildup. I felt like I was going to throw up. Sarah, I could have gone into diabetic ketoacidosis. I could have ended up in a coma. That's not going to happen. I've been monitoring your symptoms carefully. I even bought glucose test strips to check your levels. She gestured toward the kitchen counter, where I now noticed a blood glucose meter I'd never seen before. You've been totally stable. What numbers have you been getting? Well, I haven't actually tested you yet because you're always at work during the optimal testing times, but I've been watching for warning signs. You haven't collapsed or anything. The sheer stupidity of it left me speechless. She'd been monitoring my diabetes by observing me from across the room and waiting to see if I fell over. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Dude, Sarah called Lisa asking about your medication struggles. Said you've been really depressed about side effects. Since when? Also, Lisa wants to know if we should skip the wine at dinner Saturday since you're having health issues. I showed Sarah the screen. You called Jake and Lisa too. I just wanted our friends to understand what you're going through. You've been so private about your health stuff, but people who love you deserve to know when you're struggling. I wasn't struggling until you replaced my medication with candy. Sarah's crying intensified. See? This is exactly what I mean. The metformin was making you so angry and aggressive. You never used to yell at me like this. I stared at her, realizing she constructed an entire alternate reality where my medication was the problem, where I was sick and getting sicker, where she was the heroic girlfriend saving me from big pharma and incompetent doctors. And somehow, she'd managed to sell this narrative to my mother, my extended family, and apparently our friends. Who else did you call, Sarah? What do you mean? My family. Our friends. Who else thinks I'm having some kind of medical crisis? She bit her lip. I may have mentioned it to your sister when she called about the engagement party guest list. And your dad texted me last week asking how you were doing, so I told him about the research I'd been doing. Jesus Christ. Don't take the Lord's name in vain, she said automatically, then caught herself. Sorry, I've been so worried, Danny. I haven't been sleeping well because I've been researching treatment options every night. Do you know how many people have completely reversed type 2 diabetes with lifestyle changes alone? I pulled out my phone and started typing a group text to my family, need to clarify something important before Saturday. I am not having medication side effects or health problems. My blood sugar issues are due to. Sarah lunged forward and grabbed my phone. Wait. Don't send that yet. Please. Can we just talk about this rationally? Give me my phone back. I will, I promise. But sending that text right now is going to create so much unnecessary drama before our engagement party. Your mom has been planning this for months. She bought a new dress specifically for Saturday. She was holding my phone against her chest, breathing hard. What if we compromise? What if you go back on the metformin temporarily, just until after the wedding, and then we transition to natural alternatives gradually? I'll throw away all the supplements if that's what you want. The fact that she thought this was a negotiation told me everything I needed to know about how deep her delusion went. Sarah. Give me my phone. Now. You're not thinking clearly right now, Sarah said, backing away from me while still clutching my phone. The blood sugar fluctuations are affecting your judgment. This is exactly why I was so worried about you continuing those medications. She was using my diabetes against me. Actually suggesting that my anger at discovering she'd been poisoning me was somehow a symptom of the condition she'd been making worse. Sarah, I'm going to count to 3. What if your family reads that text wrong? What if they think I've been hurting you on purpose? Her voice cracked. Your mom already doesn't like me that much. Remember Christmas when she made that comment about me not knowing how to cook traditional Chinese food? If you send some angry message right now. 1. Danny, please. I know you're upset, but think about this logically. Saturday is supposed to be the happiest day of our lives so far. Both our families are flying in. Your cousin Michael is coming all the way from Vancouver. My grandparents bought plane tickets even though Grandpa hates flying. 2. I made a mistake, okay? I should have talked to you first before trying the natural approach. But I was just so scared after reading about metformin side effects. Did you know it can cause lactic acidosis? That's potentially fatal, Danny. I couldn't live with myself if something happened to you because I didn't speak up. 3. I stepped toward her, and she stumbled backward into the kitchen, still holding my phone. Her hip bumped against the counter where she displayed her collection of supplement bottles like some kind of shrine to medical quackery. Look at these labels, she said desperately, grabbing one of the brown bottles. Standardized extract, third-party tested, manufactured in FDA-approved facilities. These aren't random herbs I picked up at some hippie store. I spent weeks researching reputable suppliers. You spent weeks planning how to drug me without my consent. That's not what this is. She slammed the bottle down, and several others rattled. I was trying to save your life. Do you have any idea what it's like watching someone you love slowly poison themselves every single day? The irony was so thick I could taste it. Give me my phone, Sarah, or I'm calling 911 from the landline. We don't have a landline. Then I'll walk to the neighbors and ask to use theirs. Her face went pale. You'd really involve strangers in our private business. You involved my entire family in our private business. You called my mother crying about my health while you were actively sabotaging it. Sarah's grip on my phone loosened slightly. I called her because I needed support too, you know. This has been really hard on me. Watching you get sicker, knowing I had solutions but being afraid you'd react exactly like this. I wasn't getting sicker. My blood sugar was perfect until you started replacing my medication. Your energy levels were terrible. You were tired all the time. Because you were giving me lactose pills instead of metformin. You were moody and irritable. Because my blood sugar was spiking. You see. You're doing it right now. The aggression, the paranoia. Sarah shook her head sadly. I've read about this. It's called pharmaceutical dependence. Your brain chemistry has adapted to expect those artificial chemicals. I stared at her, finally understanding that this wasn't just deception or misguided care. Sarah had completely detached from reality. In her mind, she was the hero of this story, bravely fighting against corrupt doctors and evil pharmaceutical companies to save her beloved fiancé from himself. Dr. Healing Hands explained it all in her webinar last month, Sarah continued. The withdrawal process can cause emotional volatility, but once your system detoxes. There is no Dr. Healing Hands. Yes, there is. I can show you her website. She has a doctorate in naturopathic medicine from an accredited. My phone started ringing in her hands. The screen lit up with Jake's contact photo. We both stared at it. Answer it, I said quietly. Danny. Put it on speaker and answer it. Sarah's thumb hovered over the screen for a moment before she swiped to accept the call. Hey Sarah, Jake's voice filled the kitchen. Is Danny around? Lisa's been texting with her sister who's a nurse, and she has some questions about his medication situation. Apparently there are some serious drug interactions we should know about before Saturday if he's switching treatments. I watched Sarah's face go white. Actually, Jake continued, Lisa's sister wants to talk to Danny directly. She said something about the timeline not making sense based on what you told Lisa yesterday. Sarah looked at me with pure panic in her eyes. Jake, I said loudly. It's Danny. Sarah's been. The call ended. Sarah had hung up and was now holding my phone against her chest again, breathing like she'd just run a marathon. Please, she whispered. Please don't ruin everything. The silence stretched between us for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Sarah clutching my phone like a lifeline, me staring at this woman I thought I knew, trying to process the magnitude of what she'd done. My phone buzzed again in her hands. Then again. Text after text lighting up the screen. That's Jake calling back, I said. And probably Lisa. And knowing Jake, he's already texting my sister asking what the hell is going on. Sarah glanced down at the phone, and I saw her face crumple as she read whatever messages were coming through. Sarah. Give me the phone. I can fix this, she said quickly. I can call them back and explain that you're having a bad reaction to stopping the medication. Lisa's sister will understand, she's a nurse, she knows about withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal symptoms from diabetes medication? Yes. People don't realize how addictive pharmaceutical drugs can be. Dr. Healing Hands has a whole section on her website about. My phone started ringing again. This time I could see it was my sister Michelle calling. Sarah stared at the screen like it might bite her. Your sister really doesn't like me, she said quietly. Remember last Christmas when she made that comment about me being too involved in your medical decisions? If she thinks I've been. You have been. I've been caring about you. Sarah's voice rose to nearly a shout. When's the last time Michelle called to check on your diabetes management? When's the last time your parents asked about your A1C levels? I'm the only one who actually pays attention to your health. The phone stopped ringing, then immediately started again. She's going to keep calling, I said. Michelle doesn't give up. Sarah looked at the phone, then at me, then back at the phone. I could practically see her mental wheels spinning, trying to figure out how to maintain control of the narrative she'd constructed. What if, she said slowly, what if we tell everyone the truth, but we frame it differently? The truth? That I was researching natural alternatives because I was worried about long-term pharmaceutical side effects. That maybe I got a little overeager and made some mistakes, but it all came from a place of love. Her voice was getting stronger, more confident. People will understand that. Everyone knows how much I care about you. I stared at her. Sarah, you replaced my medication with sugar pills without my knowledge for 6 weeks. You lied to my family about my health. You told my mother I was having side effects I never had. But I can explain the reasoning behind all of that. Your mom loves me, Danny. She knows I would never hurt you. And your dad has always been skeptical of doctors anyway, remember how he refused physical therapy after his knee surgery? She was doing it again. Twisting reality to fit her narrative, finding ways to make her deception sound reasonable. My phone buzzed with what I assumed was a voicemail notification. Let me call Michelle back, Sarah said suddenly. Let me talk to her first, woman to woman. I can explain things in a way that won't sound so confrontational. Absolutely not. She'll listen to me. Michelle and I had a good conversation at your birthday dinner last month about how hard it is to watch someone you love make unhealthy choices. She was talking about your dad's drinking, but the principle is the same. The audacity was breathtaking. Sarah was now claiming my sister as an ally in some kind of intervention fantasy. Sarah, my dad doesn't have a drinking problem. He had 2 beers at that dinner. See, this is what I mean about the aggressive defensiveness. It's a classic sign of. I lunged forward and grabbed my phone from her hands before she could finish that sentence. Sarah stumbled backward, knocking into the counter and sending several of her supplement bottles clattering to the floor. 17 missed calls. 12 text messages. The most recent text from Michelle, Danny, Jake said something's wrong with your meds. Call me now. Also Sarah told mom you're having episodes. What episodes? Another from Jake, dude, Lisa's sister says withdrawing from diabetes medication isn't a real thing. She wants to know exactly what Sarah told us yesterday. One from mom, honey, I'm getting very confused messages from Michelle and Jake. Please call me as soon as you can. And one from my dad that made my blood run cold, son, your mother is very upset. She's worried Sarah may have misunderstood something about your medical situation. We're driving over. They're driving over. I looked at Sarah, who had gone completely white. My parents are driving over here. Right now. That's actually good, Sarah said weakly. We can explain everything in person. Face-to-face communication is always better for sensitive topics. I scrolled through more messages. Lisa asking if I was okay. My cousin Michael texting from Vancouver asking if he should still fly down for Saturday. Aunt Linda wanting to know if she should bring healing soups instead of almond cookies. The web of lies Sarah had woven was unraveling in real time, and she'd involved so many people that the fallout was going to be spectacular. Sarah, I said, looking up from my phone. The engagement party is in 3 days. Everyone we know thinks I'm having some kind of medical crisis that you've been helping me through. My family is driving here in a panic. Our friends are confused and worried. And all of this is because you decided to play doctor with my diabetes medication. She was crying again, but this time it looked different. Less manipulative, more genuinely terrified. I can fix this, she whispered. But looking at my phone, at the growing chaos of concerned messages from people who loved us both, I was starting to realize that some things couldn't be fixed. They could only be exposed. My parents arrived 47 minutes later, which meant Dad had definitely been speeding through downtown traffic. I watched from our apartment window as they climbed out of their silver Camry, Mom clutching her purse like a shield and Dad's jaw set in that particular way that meant someone was about to get a very serious talking to. Sarah had spent those 47 minutes alternating between panic cleaning the apartment and rehearsing different versions of her explanation. I'd listened to her practice at least 6 different ways to frame, I replaced Danny's medication because I love him, as she frantically shoved her supplement collection into kitchen cabinets. Remember, she said for the 3rd time as footsteps echoed in our building stairwell, your parents already know I've been researching alternatives. Your mom specifically said she was grateful I was taking care of you. We just need to emphasize that part. The knock came before I could respond to that particular delusion. Dad walked in first, his engineer's eyes immediately scanning the room like he was assessing a structural problem. Mom followed, her face tight with the kind of worry I hadn't seen since my initial diabetes diagnosis 3 years ago. Daniel, Dad said, skipping any pleasantries. Michelle says there's some confusion about your medication. She seems to think Sarah has been interfering with your medical treatment. Mr. Chen, Mrs. Chen, Sarah jumped in before I could answer. I'm so glad you're here. I think there's been a miscommunication, Anne. Sarah. Mom's voice was unusually sharp. We'd like to hear from Danny first. I looked at my parents, these people who'd driven across town in evening traffic because they were worried about me, and realized there was no gentle way to explain what had been happening. Sarah has been replacing my metformin with lactose pills for the past 6 weeks, I said. The silence that followed was deafening. Dad blinked once, slowly, like he was processing a particularly complex equation. Mom's purse slipped from her hands onto our coffee table. That's not exactly. Sarah started. She picked up my prescription using my insurance card and gave me sugar pills instead, I continued. Then she called you, Mom, and told you I was having side effects I've never had. She told our friends I was depressed about medication problems. She's been building this whole story about me having medical issues while she was literally causing them. Sarah, Dad's voice was very quiet. Is this true? Sarah's face crumpled, but when she spoke, her voice had that same desperate conviction I'd been hearing all evening. I was trying to help him transition to natural alternatives gradually. The metformin was. Are you a doctor? Dad interrupted. Well, no, but. Do you have any medical training whatsoever? I've been doing extensive research. Research. Dad repeated the word like it tasted bitter. Sarah, do you understand that Danny could have gone into diabetic coma? That's not going to happen. I was monitoring his symptoms very carefully, and Dr. Healing Hands has successfully treated hundreds of. Dr. Healing Hands? Mom's voice pitched higher. Who is Dr. Healing Hands? I watched Sarah realize, probably for the first time, how insane her justifications sounded when she had to explain them to other people. She's a naturopathic physician who specializes in reversing diabetes through natural protocols, Sarah said, but her voice was getting smaller. She has a website with testimonials from patients who've completely eliminated their need for pharmaceutical interventions. Dad was staring at Sarah like she'd just claimed she could reverse gravity through positive thinking. Sarah, Mom said slowly, you called me last week crying. You said Danny was getting sicker despite his medication and that you were scared he might need to be hospitalized. Yes, because. You were scared he might need to be hospitalized because of problems you were causing by giving him fake medication. The way Mom said it, calm and factual, somehow made it sound even more horrifying than when I'd been shouting about it earlier. Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. For the first time since I'd confronted her, she seemed to be grasping the actual magnitude of what she'd done. I never meant for. She whispered. My phone buzzed with a text from Michelle. Mom said you're okay but didn't explain anything. What the hell is going on? Also, do we need to cancel Saturday? Saturday. The engagement party. 60 people, country club reservation, both families celebrating our perfect love story. I looked at Sarah, then at my parents, then at the text message asking whether we needed to cancel our engagement party. 3 days from now, I was supposed to stand up in front of everyone we knew and announce my intention to marry this woman. The woman who'd been secretly poisoning me for 6 weeks because she thought she knew better than my doctor. Yeah, I said, typing back to Michelle. We need to talk about Saturday. I had 3 days to figure out what to do with an engagement party that was supposed to celebrate my future with someone who'd been systematically poisoning me. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was sitting in a Denny's at 11 p.m. with my parents, discussing how to handle the fact that my fiancé had replaced my diabetes medication with sugar pills. Sarah had finally gone to bed after a 2-hour conversation that had left everyone emotionally drained and exactly 0% closer to a resolution. The deposits are non-refundable, Mom said, stirring her coffee absently. The country club, the caterer, the flowers. We're looking at about $12,000. That's not really the primary concern here, Linda, Dad replied, though I could see him calculating numbers in his head anyway. The primary concern is that our son was engaged to someone who apparently thinks WebMD makes her qualified to practice medicine. Dr. Healing Hands isn't WebMD, I said. I looked her up after you guys left. She's a real person, sort of. Her actual name is Jessica Kowalski, and she got a naturopathic medicine degree from an online university that lost its accreditation in 2018. Dad rubbed his forehead. Please tell me you're joking. She charges $300 for personalized supplement consultations conducted entirely through Instagram DMs. I showed them my phone screen. Sarah paid for a comprehensive diabetes reversal protocol based on a questionnaire that included questions like, what's your favorite crystal for emotional healing? Jesus, Mom muttered. It gets better. I found the order confirmation in Sarah's email. She's been planning this intervention for 3 months. She bought a 3-week supply of fake pills in advance and paid extra for discreet packaging, so I wouldn't notice when they were delivered. The waitress refilled our coffee cups, probably wondering why 3 adults were having what looked like a very intense business meeting at a Denny's after 11 p.m. I waited until she was out of earshot before continuing. Sarah also joined something called the Pharmaceutical Liberation Support Network. It's a Facebook group where people share strategies for weaning their loved ones off prescription medications without their knowledge. Dad's engineering brain was clearly struggling to process this level of systematic deception. She had a plan. A timeline. Multiple phases. According to her browser history, she's been researching ethical medical intervention for months. Turns out there's an entire online community of people who think they're saving their families from big pharma by secretly replacing their medications. How many other people has she been talking to about this? Mom asked. I pulled up Sarah's Facebook messages on my phone. Well, there's Blessed Mama 2019 who successfully transitioned her husband off blood pressure medication using hibiscus tea. And Crystal Healer _Arizona who helped her diabetic father break free from pharmaceutical dependency with cinnamon supplements and prayer circles. This is insane, Dad said. Here's the really fun part. Sarah's been documenting my progress in this Facebook group for weeks. She posted about how I was responding beautifully to gradual pharmaceutical reduction and how my anger and resistance were normal detox symptoms. I scrolled to a post from last Tuesday, week 5 update. Danny's energy level still adjusting but his aura is already brighter. Dr. HH says the emotional volatility should stabilize soon. So grateful for this community support during his healing journey. Hashtag pharmaceutical freedom, hashtag natural healing. 43 people had liked it. 17 had left encouraging comments about their own family intervention success stories. She crowdsourced poisoning me, I said. Mom set down her coffee cup with a sharp clink. Daniel, what are you going to do? That was the question I'd been avoiding all evening. What do you do when the person you plan to spend your life with turns out to be completely delusional about fundamental reality? When they've recruited your family and friends into believing a fictional version of your medical condition? I honestly don't know, I said. Part of me wants to call every single person who's coming on Saturday and explain exactly what happened. Let them know that Sarah's been lying about my health for months while secretly sabotaging my actual medical treatment. That would certainly send a message, Dad said dryly. But another part of me thinks maybe I should just quietly cancel everything and deal with this privately. I rubbed my eyes. Sarah genuinely believed she was helping me. In her mind, she's the hero who saved me from corrupt doctors and dangerous medications. Danny, Mom said gently, it doesn't matter what she believes if her actions could have killed you. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Lisa's sister wants to know if we should call someone. Like authorities or medical professionals or something. This whole thing is apparently way more serious than we realized. I showed my parents the message. Lisa's sister isn't wrong, Dad said. What Sarah did could legally be considered assault. Or poisoning. Maybe both. That thought had been lurking in the back of my mind all evening. Sarah hadn't just lied to me or betrayed my trust, she'd committed actual crimes. Replacing someone's medication without their knowledge wasn't a relationship problem, it was a felony. My phone rang. Sarah's contact photo filled the screen. It's midnight, Mom observed. Why is she calling? I answered on speaker. Sarah. Danny, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about everything we talked about tonight, and I need you to understand something. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. I know you're angry, and I know your parents think I'm some kind of monster, but I need you to know that every single thing I did came from love. The three of us exchanged glances across the Denny's table. I'm listening, I said carefully. I've been reading more testimonials on Dr. Healing Hand's website tonight, and Danny, there are people who were in exactly your situation. People whose families didn't understand, whose doctors refused to consider natural alternatives, who felt trapped in pharmaceutical dependency. Her voice was getting stronger, more convinced. And now they're completely healthy. Their diabetes is gone. Not managed, gone. I realized that our earlier conversation hadn't made Sarah question her beliefs about my medical care. If anything, it had driven her deeper into her delusions. Sarah, it's midnight, I said. I know, but this is important. What if Saturday isn't just our engagement party? What if it's the beginning of your real healing journey? I could put together a presentation about everything I've learned. Show people the research, the success stories, the science behind natural diabetes reversal. Mom's eyes went wide. Dad mouthed the word no emphatically. You want to turn our engagement party into a medical seminar? I asked. I want to show everyone how much I love you, Sarah said. How far I was willing to go to save your life, even when you couldn't see that you needed saving. And that's when I realized Sarah wasn't planning to apologize on Saturday. She was planning to double down. After Sarah's midnight call, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her plan to turn our engagement party into some kind of natural healing revival meeting. At 2 a.m., I gave up on rest and started going through her laptop while she slept. What I found made my blood run cold. Sarah hadn't just joined one Facebook group about pharmaceutical liberation. She was admin for 3 different groups with a combined membership of over 8,000 people. She'd been posting my medical information, my A1C numbers, my doctor's name, even photos of my prescription bottles, for months. But the worst part was the timeline document she'd created titled Danny's Healing Journey, Phase Implementation. Phase 1, Research and Preparation, completed January-March. Phase 2, Gradual Medication Replacement, completed weeks 1 to 6. Phase 3, Family and Friend Education, completed weeks 4 to 7. Phase 4, Public Testimony and Commitment Ceremony, scheduled for engagement party. Phase 5, Complete Pharmaceutical Elimination and Natural Protocol Implementation. She'd planned the entire thing like a military operation. There were contingency plans for different scenarios, backup suppliers for supplements, even a prepared speech for Saturday explaining how she'd saved my life through courageous intervention. The speech was 3 pages long. Single-spaced. I screenshotted everything and sent it to my parents and Michelle. Dad called me at 6 a.m. Danny, you need to see a lawyer. Today. A lawyer? What she did to you is criminal, but more importantly, look at Phase 5. She's not planning to stop with you. She wants to use your engagement party as a recruiting event to convince other people to stop taking their medications. I scrolled back through Sarah's Facebook posts and found what Dad was talking about. She'd been encouraging people in her groups to attend our party as witnesses to pharmaceutical freedom. At least 15 people had committed to driving from other states to be there. Dad, I think Sarah's invited strangers to our engagement party. Strangers with serious medical conditions who think she's some kind of guru, he replied grimly. Danny, there's a woman in her group who stopped giving insulin to her 8-year-old son because Sarah convinced her that childhood diabetes is caused by toxic food additives that can be reversed with dietary changes. My stomach dropped. Is the kid okay? I don't know. The last post about him was 2 weeks ago when his mother said he was having detox symptoms but was fighting through to freedom. I stared at Sarah sleeping peacefully beside me, her phone charging on the nightstand with notifications from her medical conspiracy groups probably still coming in. She looked so normal, so innocent. Like the woman I'd fallen in love with 2 years ago. But that woman had never existed, had she? This had all been building for months, maybe longer. At 9 a.m., I called the country club where our party was supposed to be held. Mr. Chen. We're so excited for Saturday. I wanted to confirm the AV setup. Ms. Morrison requested a microphone and projection screen for a special presentation during the reception. She requested what? A PowerPoint presentation, I believe. She said it was a surprise tribute to your journey together. Very romantic. I closed my eyes. Sarah had booked audiovisual equipment so she could give her 3-page speech about saving me from pharmaceutical dependency to a room full of family, friends, and random people from her Facebook groups. Actually, I said slowly, I think we might need to make some changes to Saturday's event. An idea was forming. A terrible, perfect idea. Sarah wanted to make our engagement party into a public testimony about her intervention. Fine. Let her try. Because I was going to be ready with a presentation of my own. By Thursday morning, I had everything I needed for my own presentation. Screenshots of Sarah's Facebook posts documenting my pharmaceutical dependency detox. Her browser history showing 3 months of research into ethical medical intervention. The receipt for $347 worth of supplements from Dr. Healing Hands. Even audio recordings from our conversations over the past 2 days, because apparently California is a one-party consent state and I'd learned more about surveillance law in 48 hours than I ever wanted to know. But the smoking gun was the email thread I'd found between Sarah and someone called naturalhealing_mom_bear. Asterisk, the engagement party is perfect timing for Danny's public commitment to pharmaceutical freedom. Once he announces his healing journey in front of both families, he won't be able to go back to big pharma dependency without losing face. Social pressure is the strongest motivator for lasting change. Dr. HH says public testimony creates accountability that private conversations can't achieve. Asterisk. She'd been planning to trap me. Get me up in front of everyone we knew and somehow manipulate me into endorsing her insane medical theories so I'd be too embarrassed to resume actual treatment afterward. The woman I was supposed to marry in 4 months had orchestrated a public intervention designed to cut me off from legitimate medical care permanently. My phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Michael, who'd flown in from Vancouver that morning. Dude, Sarah just picked me up from the airport and spent the entire drive telling me about some diabetes cure she discovered. She wants me to support your transition during her speech tomorrow. What speech? What transition? Also, why does she have a binder full of before and after photos of random diabetic people? I called him immediately. Michael, whatever Sarah told you about my health, ignore it completely. Okay, but she seemed really passionate about this healing protocol thing. She showed me testimonials from like 50 people who reversed their diabetes naturally. Pretty convincing stuff. My heart sank. Michael, you don't have diabetes. No, but Sarah said the same principles apply to my high cholesterol. She gave me a bottle of red yeast rice supplements and this pamphlet about pharmaceutical industry corruption. He paused. She also asked if I'd be willing to share my cholesterol journey during tomorrow's celebration. Apparently there's going to be some kind of group sharing session. A group sharing session? Yeah, she said several people are driving in to witness our family's commitment to natural healing. She made it sound like a really big honor that we were chosen to host this gathering. I was going to throw up. Sarah hadn't just invited strangers to our engagement party, she turned it into some kind of medical cult recruitment event. Michael, do me a favor. Don't take anything Sarah gave you, don't agree to speak at any sharing sessions, and definitely don't sign anything. Sign anything? What would I need to sign? I have no idea, but at this point I'm not ruling out membership contracts for her healing network. After I hung up, I called the country club again. Mr. Chen. Perfect timing. Ms. Morrison just finished setting up for tomorrow's event. She brought quite a lot of materials, banners, informational displays, even a registration table for something called the Pharmaceutical Freedom Network. Should we be expecting a larger crowd than the original 60 guests? How much larger? Well, she mentioned people coming from Oregon, Nevada, even one family driving from Colorado. She's very excited about what she called the ripple effect your celebration will create. The ripple effect. Sarah was using our engagement party as a launching pad to spread her medical conspiracy theories across multiple states. But two could play that game. Actually, I told the events coordinator, I'll be bringing some additional materials as well. Informational displays of my own. Can you set up a second presentation area? Of course. How wonderful that you're both contributing to the program. Saturday was going to be very educational indeed. Sarah had planned to ambush me with public pressure and social manipulation, surrounding me with true believers and family members who bought into her lies about my health. She had no idea I'd spent the last 2 days preparing my own slideshow. Complete with medical records, pharmacy receipts, and screenshots of every delusional Facebook post she'd made about secretly poisoning me. 60 guests plus random strangers from her online cult were about to get a very detailed education about what pharmaceutical liberation actually looked like in practice. This was going to be the most memorable engagement party in family history. For all the wrong reasons. Friday evening, I was putting the finishing touches on my presentation when Sarah walked into our home office with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. I thought we could have a quiet celebration tonight, she said, setting everything down on my desk. Just the 2 of us, before all the craziness tomorrow. She looked genuinely happy for the first time in days. Her smile was radiant, her eyes bright with excitement. This was the Sarah I'd fallen in love with, warm, thoughtful, beautiful. It made what I was about to do feel even more surreal. That's sweet, I said, minimizing my PowerPoint presentation. What are we celebrating? The beginning of your real healing journey. She poured wine into both glasses, her movements graceful and confident. Danny, I know this week has been difficult, but after tomorrow, everything changes. Once people see the research, once they understand what we've accomplished together, you'll have so much support for continuing the natural protocols. I took the wine glass she offered me, noting how she said, we've accomplished, like I'd been a willing participant in her medical experiment. Sarah, what exactly are you planning for tomorrow? Her face lit up. Oh, it's going to be amazing. I've prepared this presentation that walks through your entire journey, from pharmaceutical dependency to natural healing. I have before and after photos, your blood sugar logs, testimonials from other success stories. She pulled out her phone and started swiping through slides. Look, this is the opening graphic. The screen showed a photo of me from last Christmas next to a more recent photo, with text overlay reading, Danny's transformation, from big pharma victim to natural healing advocate. The recent photo had been edited to make me look healthier, brighter somehow. When did you take that second picture? Last Tuesday when you got home from work. You were standing by the kitchen window and the lighting was perfect. I enhanced it a little to show how much better you look since starting the supplements. Last Tuesday. 3 days after I discovered she was poisoning me, while I was furious and exhausted from my blood sugar being completely out of control. She'd photographed me without my knowledge and digitally altered the image to support her narrative. And people are expecting this presentation. Everyone's so excited, Danny. Your Aunt Linda called this morning asking if she should bring a notebook to take notes. Michelle wants copies of the research to share with her book club. Even your dad seemed interested when I mentioned the pharmaceutical industry profit margins. I nearly choked on my wine. You talked to my dad about pharmaceutical profit margins? He's an engineer, he loves data. When I showed him the statistics about medication side effects versus natural treatment success rates, he was really impressed with the thoroughness of my research. What statistics did you show him? Sarah pulled up another slide on her phone. The screen was filled with official-looking charts and graphs, all branded with the Pharmaceutical Freedom Network logo. This one shows that 73% of type 2 diabetics can achieve complete pharmaceutical independence within 6 months using targeted natural protocols. And this chart demonstrates how blood sugar stability actually improves when patients transition away from synthetic interventions. I stared at the graphs, noting that none of them cited actual medical sources. The data appeared to be completely fabricated, designed to look legitimate to people who didn't know how to evaluate medical research. Where did these numbers come from? Dr. Healing Hands compiled them from her patient database. She's treated over 800 diabetics in the past 5 years with a 94% success rate. Sarah, you realize these could be completely made up, right? Her expression shifted slightly. Why would she make them up? She has a medical degree and a thriving practice. She's helping people, Danny. Just like I'm helping you. A degree from an unaccredited online university. Accreditation is controlled by the same pharmaceutical lobby that profits from keeping people sick, she said, her voice taking on that familiar fervent quality. Traditional medical schools don't teach natural healing because there's no money in curing people permanently. I set down my wine glass, realizing that no amount of evidence was going to penetrate the conspiracy theory framework she constructed around this. Sarah, what happens if I don't want to participate in your presentation tomorrow? She blinked, like the question didn't make sense. What do you mean? What if I don't want to get up in front of everyone and talk about pharmaceutical freedom? But Danny, you have to. People are counting on your testimony. Natural Healing _mom_bear drove down from Portland specifically to meet you. There's a woman coming from Colorado whose son has diabetes. She needs to hear your success story. My success story? How you overcame pharmaceutical dependency and chose natural healing instead. Her voice was getting urgent now. Danny, this is bigger than just us. Your story could save lives. Children are being poisoned with synthetic insulin when their bodies could heal naturally if their parents just knew the truth. The wine turned to acid in my stomach. Sarah wasn't just planning to use our engagement party to trap me into continuing her medical protocols, she was planning to use my fake testimony to convince other parents to stop giving their diabetic children proper medication. Sarah, children die without insulin. That's what Big Pharma wants everyone to believe. But Dr. Healing Hands has successfully treated dozens of diabetic children using dietary modification and targeted supplementation. The youngest was only 6 years old. I stared at this woman I'd planned to marry, finally understanding the true scope of what I was dealing with. This wasn't just about my medication anymore. Sarah had become a true believer in a conspiracy theory that could kill people. And tomorrow, she was expecting me to help her spread it. What if I told everyone the truth instead? I said quietly. Sarah's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. What do you mean? What if I got up there tomorrow and told everyone exactly what happened? That you replaced my medication with sugar pills without my knowledge. That my blood sugar has been dangerously high for 6 weeks because of fake medication you bought online. The color drained from her face. Danny, you can't be serious. Why not? You want public testimony. You want people to hear about our journey together. I pulled up my own presentation on my laptop screen. I've got plenty to share. Sarah set down her wine and moved behind my chair to see the screen. Her gasp was audible. Slide 1, I said, clicking through. Timeline of medication replacement, with pharmacy receipts showing when you picked up my real prescription and when you gave me lactose tablets instead. Danny, please. Slide 2, screenshots of your Facebook posts where you documented my detox symptoms without my knowledge. My personal medical information shared with 8,000 strangers. Her hand gripped the back of my chair. Those people were trying to help you. Slide 3, email correspondence with Dr. Jessica Kowalski, aka Dr. Healing Hands, including the receipt for her $347 diabetes reversal protocol based on a questionnaire that asked about my favorite crystals. Stop. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Slide 4, my actual blood test results from Dr. Martinez, showing how my A1C spiked to dangerous levels during the exact weeks you were giving me fake medication. I clicked to the next slide. Slide 5, audio recordings from our conversations this week, where you admit to replacing my medication and explain how you plan to use tomorrow's party to pressure me into abandoning proper medical care permanently. Sarah stumbled backward. You recorded me. California is a one-party consent state. Very educational, the things you learn when your fiancé starts poisoning you. I wasn't poisoning you. Her voice cracked. Everything I did was to help you. Slide 6, I continued relentlessly, documentation of how you contacted my family and friends with fabricated stories about my health problems, creating a false narrative to support your intervention. Danny, if you show this tomorrow, it'll ruin everything. Everything was already ruined the moment you decided you knew better than my doctor. Sarah sank into the chair across from my desk, her face buried in her hands. People drove from other states to be there. Natural Healing _mom_bear brought her whole family. The woman from Colorado spent her grocery money on gas to get here. Then they deserve to know the truth about what pharmaceutical liberation actually looks like. They'll never forgive me. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. The support groups, the network I built, it'll all be destroyed. Sarah, you built a network based on convincing people to secretly poison their loved ones. Maybe it should be destroyed. She stood abruptly, pacing to the window. What about us? What about our engagement, our wedding, our future together? I looked at this woman who'd systematically lied to me, manipulated my family, and planned to use our engagement party to recruit people into dangerous medical conspiracy theories. The woman who'd been so convinced of her righteous cause that she'd recorded my private medical information and shared it with thousands of strangers online. Sarah, what future? You've spent months planning to trap me into abandoning proper medical care. You've invited strangers to our engagement party to witness my commitment to pharmaceutical freedom. You've been documenting my fake healing journey to convince other people to stop taking their medications. Because I love you. You love an idea of me. The me that fits your narrative about natural healing and pharmaceutical conspiracies. I saved my presentation and closed the laptop. You don't love the actual me, the me who needs medication to manage a chronic condition. Sarah wiped her eyes, and when she looked at me again, something had changed in her expression. The desperate vulnerability was gone, replaced by something harder. Fine, she said. Show your little slideshow tomorrow. Humiliate me in front of everyone. But Danny, think about what you're really doing. What am I really doing? You're choosing pharmaceutical dependency over natural healing. You're choosing corporate profits over your own health. You're choosing fear over faith. Her voice was getting stronger, more convinced. And when your kidneys start failing from long-term metformin use, when you develop lactic acidosis, when you're dealing with all the side effects Dr. Martinez never warned you about, remember that you had a chance to choose differently. I stared at her, realizing that even now, even after everything, she still believed she was the hero of this story. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting indeed. Saturday morning, I woke up to find Sarah already gone. Her side of the bed was cold, and her car wasn't in the parking lot. For a moment, I wondered if she'd decided to skip our engagement party entirely, which would have been the smartest thing either of us could do at this point. Then I found the note on the kitchen counter. Asterisk Danny, gone to set up early with Natural Healing _mom_bear and the Portland group. Today is going to change everything, for both of us. Whatever you're planning, please remember that 50+ people are counting on your testimony. Don't let pharmaceutical brainwashing destroy the chance to save lives. See you at 3 p.m. Sarah, asterisk. Pharmaceutical brainwashing. She'd written that with a straight face. My phone was buzzing with messages from the arriving out-of-town guests. Michelle had landed at 8 a.m., airport pickup was weird. Sarah sent some woman named Crystal instead of you. She spent the whole drive talking about Danny's transformation journey and asking about my thyroid levels. Jake texted at 9:30, dude, there are people setting up booths in a country club parking lot. Like, actual vendor booths with banners about natural healing. Did you know about this? But the message that made my blood run cold came from my cousin Michael at 10:15, Danny, I think we have a problem. I'm at the hotel and there's a woman here with a sick kid. The kid looks really bad, pale, throwing up, super lethargic. She keeps saying he's detoxing from pharmaceutical toxins, but he seriously looks like he needs a hospital. I called Michael immediately. Where are you right now? Hotel lobby. The mom won't let me call anyone because she says conventional doctors will recontaminate his system right when he's on the verge of breakthrough healing. Michael's voice was tight with worry. Danny, this kid is maybe 8 years old and he looks terrible. What's the mom's name? She introduced herself as Blessed Mama 2019. I think her real name is Jennifer. She drove here from Colorado specifically for your engagement party. She keeps talking about how your success story gives her hope for her son's healing journey. Blessed Mama 2019. I remembered her from Sarah's Facebook groups, the woman who'd stopped giving her diabetic son insulin because Sarah had convinced her that childhood diabetes was reversible through diet changes. Michael, that kid needs emergency medical attention right now. I know that, you know that, but his mother thinks medical intervention will undo months of natural healing progress. Michael paused. She also mentioned something about you giving a speech today about rejecting pharmaceuticals. Listen to me very carefully. Do not let that woman take her son to the country club. That kid is probably in diabetic ketoacidosis. What's that? It's what happens when diabetic people don't get insulin. It can be fatal. I was already grabbing my car keys. What hotel are you at? 20 minutes later, I was in the Marriott lobby watching an 8-year-old boy who was clearly dying while his mother explained to anyone who would listen that his symptoms were signs of pharmaceutical toxins leaving his system. The kid, Tyler, was slumped in one of the lobby chairs, breathing rapidly and barely conscious. His lips were dry and cracked, and he had that distinctive fruity smell on his breath that Dr. Martinez had taught me to recognize as a sign of ketoacidosis. Tyler's been so brave through this transition, his mother Jennifer was telling Michael. We stopped the insulin injections 8 weeks ago and started him on Dr. Healinghand's pediatric protocol. The first few weeks were rough, but she warned us that detox symptoms could be severe. 8 weeks. This woman had been withholding insulin from her diabetic child for 2 months based on advice from Sarah's online guru. Jennifer, I said, approaching carefully, I'm Danny. I think we need to talk. Her face lit up immediately. Danny. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm actually meeting you. Your story has been such an inspiration during Tyler's healing journey. She gestured toward her son. We've been following your exact protocol, the gradual pharmaceutical reduction, the supplement timing, everything Sarah documented in the support groups. I looked at Tyler, who was now slumped completely sideways in his chair. Jennifer, when did Tyler last have something to drink? He's been having trouble keeping fluids down since yesterday, but Dr. Healinghand says that's normal during the final detox phase. His body is rejecting anything artificial, even regular water, because it wants pure, natural hydration. Pure, natural hydration. Coconut water blessed with healing intentions. I brought a whole case from Colorado. Tyler made a soft whimpering sound and his eyes rolled back slightly. I pulled out my phone and started dialing 911. What are you doing? Jennifer lunged forward and grabbed my arm. You can't call conventional doctors. Tyler is so close to breakthrough healing. If they pump him full of insulin now, it'll reset his entire system. Jennifer, your son is dying. He's healing. This is what pharmaceutical detox looks like. Sarah showed me testimonials from dozens of parents whose children went through similar transitions. The 911 operator answered. 911, what's your emergency? I need an ambulance at the downtown Marriott. We have an 8-year-old diabetic child in what appears to be ketoacidosis. The mother is refusing medical treatment. Jennifer started screaming. Hang up. Hang up right now. You're going to kill my son. Other hotel guests were starting to stare. Tyler slipped further down in his chair, his breathing becoming more labored. Sir, we're sending units now, the operator said. Can you stay on the line? Michael moved to stand between Jennifer and Tyler as she tried to pick up her son. Ma'am, please step back. He's my child. You have no right. Jennifer was crying now, hysterical. Sarah promised me this would work. She showed me the research. Tyler was supposed to be cured by now. And that's when I realized that Sarah's medical conspiracy theories weren't just dangerous in the abstract. They were killing children. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later. By then, Tyler was unconscious and barely breathing. The paramedics had to physically restrain Jennifer to get to her son. As they loaded Tyler into the ambulance, Jennifer turned to me with pure hatred in her eyes. This is your fault, she spat. You gave up. You chose pharmaceutical slavery over healing, and now you're destroying my son's chance at freedom. I watched the ambulance disappear down the street, sirens wailing, carrying a child who might die because my fiancé had convinced his mother that insulin was poison. In 3 hours, I was supposed to stand up at our engagement party and give a speech. Sarah had no idea what kind of speech it was going to be. The country club looked like a medical conference had collided with a wedding expo. I sat in my car in the parking lot at 2:45 p.m., 15 minutes before our engagement party was supposed to start, staring at the chaos Sarah had created. There were at least 8 different booths set up along the circular driveway. Essential oils for pharmaceutical freedom. Crystal healing for chronic conditions. Break free from big pharma dependency. One woman was selling something called Miracle Mineral Solution that promised to cure everything from diabetes to autism with what appeared to be industrial bleach. My phone buzzed with an update from Michael, Tyler's stable. They got him to the hospital in time. Blood sugar was over 600, doctor said another few hours and he probably would have died. Jennifer's been arrested for child endangerment. 600. For reference, normal blood sugar should be between 80 and 120. I could see Sarah through the country club's floor-to-ceiling windows, animated and glowing as she directed the setup of what looked like a small auditorium. She'd somehow acquired a professional-grade sound system, and there were folding chairs arranged in perfect rows facing a large projection screen. Banners reading, Pharmaceutical Freedom Testimony Celebration, hung from the ceiling. This wasn't an engagement party anymore. It was a medical cult recruitment rally disguised as a celebration of our relationship. Dad appeared at my car window. Danny, we need to talk before you go in there. I rolled down the window. Did you see the bleach lady? I saw the bleach lady. I also saw Sarah's presentation setup, and I counted at least 40 people I don't recognize. He handed me a printed email. This arrived in my inbox an hour ago. The subject line read, Pharmaceutical Freedom Network, welcome new members. The email detailed how today's event would officially launch the Northwest chapter of Dr. Healing Hands organization, with founding testimonials from the Chin family's diabetes reversal success story. Sarah enrolled our entire family as founding members of a medical conspiracy organization, I said. It gets better. Your mother received a similar email welcoming her as a natural healing advocate and asking her to recruit other families dealing with pharmaceutical dependency. Through the window, I watched Sarah testing the microphone. Her voice echoed across the room, testing, testing. Can everyone hear me? Wonderful. In just a few minutes, we'll begin with opening testimonials from our founding families. My phone rang. Dr. Martinez's office. Mr. Chin. This is Dr. Martinez. I have some concerning information that I think you need to know about immediately. Dr. Martinez. How did you get this number? I've been contacted by Child Protective Services about a case involving an 8-year-old diabetic patient who was brought to the emergency room today in severe ketoacidosis. The child's mother mentioned your name specifically, claiming that your success story inspired her to discontinue her son's insulin therapy. My stomach dropped. Dr. Martinez, I need to explain. Mr. Chen, I've also received calls from 3 other patients in the past 2 hours. All of them mention attending some kind of medical presentation today where you're supposedly going to discuss abandoning conventional diabetes treatment. His voice was grave. I'm legally obligated to report any situation where patients are being encouraged to discontinue necessary medical care. Doctor, please listen to me. I am not encouraging anyone to stop taking medication. My fiancé has been. Mr. Chen, I don't know what's going on, but if you're involved in any kind of alternative medicine promotion, you need to understand that people are making life-threatening decisions based on information they believe came from you. The call ended. I sat in my car, watching Sarah adjust the projection screen for her presentation about my pharmaceutical freedom journey, while Dr. Martinez was probably calling medical authorities about a diabetes patient who was apparently promoting dangerous treatment alternatives. Dad was still standing beside my car. Danny, what are you going to do? I looked at the crowd gathering inside the country club. My mother was chatting with a woman wearing a medicine-free family t-shirt. Michelle was cornered by someone explaining the health benefits of drinking urine. Jake and Lisa stood near the back, looking increasingly uncomfortable as more strangers filed in carrying pamphlets about government health conspiracies. Mixed in with these people were our actual family and friends, people who'd driven from other states to celebrate our engagement, who had no idea they were about to witness the implosion of my relationship and possibly the exposure of a medical fraud operation. Aunt Linda was near the registration table, politely accepting a brochure titled Insulin, the Hidden Killer. My cousin from Vancouver was examining a display of supplements that claimed to regenerate pancreatic function. Sarah's grandmother, who'd flown in from Phoenix despite her fear of airplanes, was nodding along as someone explained how chemotherapy was actually designed to create repeat customers for the cancer industry. These people trusted us. They'd come here to celebrate our love story, and instead they were being recruited into conspiracy theories that could literally kill them or their children. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Danny, this is Jennifer, Tyler's mom. The doctors are lying about Tyler's condition to cover up pharmaceutical damage. Sarah says you'll explain the truth during your speech. Tyler's counting on you to tell people what really happened. Even from her jail cell, Tyler's mother still believed Sarah's version of reality. Sarah appeared in the doorway of the country club, scanning the parking lot until she spotted me. She waved enthusiastically and pointed to her watch, mouthing, "Showtime." She had no idea that while she'd been setting up her medical freedom rally, I'd spent the morning watching an 8-year-old boy nearly die from her advice. But she was about to find out. I grabbed my laptop bag and headed toward the entrance, passing the essential oils lady who tried to hand me a business card. "You must be Danny. Sarah's told us so much about your transformation journey. We're all so excited to hear your testimony." "Yeah," I said, walking past her toward the main room. "It's going to be quite a testimony." At 3:15 p.m., I walked to the front of the room and took the microphone from Sarah's hand. "Thank you all for being here," I said, looking out at the crowd of 60-plus people. "I know many of you traveled long distances to hear about my healing journey." Sarah beamed beside me, her hands squeezing my arm supportively. In the audience, I spotted Natural Healing _mom_bear in the front row with her phone ready to record. The woman from Nevada had her notebook open. Several people wore pharmaceutical freedom buttons that Sarah must have made. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that there's breaking news some of you should know about. This morning, an 8-year-old boy named Tyler was rushed to the emergency room in diabetic ketoacidosis. His blood sugar was over 600. He nearly died. The room went silent. Sarah's grip on my arm tightened. Tyler's mother, Jennifer, is here in spirit today. She's currently in jail for child endangerment because she stopped giving her diabetic son insulin 2 months ago. She did this because she believed in something called the Pharmaceutical Freedom Network. Sarah tried to take the microphone back. I stepped away from her. Tyler's mother stopped his insulin because she was convinced by someone that children's diabetes could be cured through diet and supplements. That someone documented her advice in Facebook groups with over 8,000 members. She charged $347 for personalized protocols. She convinced desperate parents that insulin was poison. "Danny, what are you doing?" Sarah whispered, but her voice was picked up by the microphone. "What I'm doing, Sarah, is telling the truth about pharmaceutical freedom." I gestured to my laptop. "Let me share some slides with you all." The first slide appeared on screen, Sarah's Pharmaceutical Liberation, a timeline. Gasps echoed through the room as I clicked through pharmacy receipts, screenshots of Sarah's Facebook posts documenting my detox symptoms, and her browser history showing months of research into ethical medical intervention. For 6 weeks, my fiancé replaced my diabetes medication with lactose tablets, I announced. She documented my declining health in online groups, telling thousands of strangers that my fatigue and mood swings were signs of pharmaceutical withdrawal success. Mom's horrified, "Oh my God," carried across the silent room. She planned to use today's event to pressure me into publicly committing to abandon medical treatment. She recruited you all as witnesses to make it harder for me to resume proper healthcare. I clicked to the audio recordings. Sarah's voice filled the room. "The engagement party is perfect timing for Danny's public commitment to pharmaceutical freedom. Once he announces his healing journey in front of both families, he won't be able to go back to big pharma dependency without losing face." The woman with the urine therapy pamphlet stood up and headed for the exit. 3 others followed. "Sarah created an entire conspiracy network based on secretly poisoning loved ones," I continued. "She convinced Jennifer to withhold insulin from Tyler. She encouraged a woman in Portland to replace her husband's blood pressure medication with hibiscus tea. She built a business around medical fraud." "Stop." Sarah grabbed for the laptop. "You don't understand what you're destroying." "I'm destroying a network that kills children," I said, pulling away from her. "Tyler survived, barely. How many others won't?" Natural Healing _mom_bear was frantically packing up her recording equipment. The crystal healing woman was dismantling her booth outside. Half the audience had already left. Sarah stood alone at the front of the room, tears streaming down her face, as her pharmaceutical freedom rally crumbled around her. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the microphone, "there is no engagement to celebrate today. Sarah and I are done." I set down the microphone and walked out, leaving behind the woman who tried to kill me slowly while convincing herself she was saving my life. 2 hours later, I was in Dr. Martinez's office getting my first real metformin dose in 6 weeks. My phone buzzed with updates. Tyler was stable and recovering. Jennifer faced federal charges. Sarah's Facebook groups were being investigated by authorities. The engagement was off. The wedding was cancelled. But I was alive.